40 pounds of peas from a patch of dirt the size of a kitchen cutting board. That's the claim that's been ripping through gardening videos for the last year. 16 plants, one small bed, 40 pounds of peas piled on the kitchen counter by July. I called it nonsense. Then I watched an Amish farmer in Ohio pull 32 pounds out of a bed barely bigger than a bath mat. The number's a lie. What he was doing wasn't. Because the number is fake. The method is real. And buried inside the clickbait is a system the Amish have been quietly using for over 100 years. One that turns 2 square feet of dirt into a living wall of food. I'm going to walk you through every piece of it. The soil, the seeds, the trellis. The one strange thing they do at 8 o'clock at night that nobody talks about. And the strangest part of it all is something they do at 8 o'clock at night with a bucket of cold water that nobody outside their community can quite explain. For 15 years, I planted my peas the way the seed packet told me. Single trench, seeds dropped 1 inch apart, rows spaced 18 inches from each other so I could walk between them with the hose. That's what every extension office recommends. That's what my granddaddy did. That's what I did. And every year I got the same disappointing result. Thin vines, leaves yellowing by mid-June, powdery mildew creeping up the bottom of every plant, a bowl of peas, maybe 2. Then the heat would come and the whole thing would collapse, flowers dropping off before they ever set a pod. By the 4th of July, my pea patch looked like burnt paper. I blamed the weather. I blamed the seeds. I spent $300 one summer on bone meal and a fancy organic fertilizer with a name I can't pronounce. Got the same bowl of peas. The truth was simpler and harder to swallow. I was doing it the way industrial agriculture does it. Wide rows, bare dirt between every plant, each pea standing alone, fighting the sun and the wind and the soil all by itself. That layout was never designed for a backyard. It was designed for tractors. I'd been planting like a commercial farmer with no commercial farm. Then I stumbled across a word, Gelassenheit. It's German. The Amish use it. Roughly it means yielding, letting go, submitting to something bigger than yourself. In Amish life, it's the opposite of the modern American hustle. It's the rejection of standing alone, of forcing your way, of needing to win. I almost clicked away. I came for pea growing tips, not philosophy. But then I realized the Amish apply this idea to their gardens, literally. The plants don't compete, they cooperate. They lean on each other. They share roots, they share shade. They share a fungal network underground that ties the whole bed into one organism. And the result is something most modern gardeners have never seen. Plants packed shoulder to shoulder, 6 feet tall, dripping with pods. A bed so dense the soil never sees the sun. A microclimate the plants build for themselves. That's not a garden, that's a community of roots. I tried it the next spring. My harvest tripled. Now, here's the thing nobody tells you about that viral 40-pound video. The harvest doesn't start in spring. It starts in October. The Amish build the bed the autumn before. 2 feet wide, 8 inches tall, right on top of the existing earth. They don't dig, they don't till, they don't run a rototiller through it. That's the first piece of heresy. Modern gardeners have been told for 50 years that you have to till, break up the soil, mix it deep. The Amish say no. Tilling destroys the structure. It shreds the fungal threads that connect plant to plant. It burns up the organic matter. It bakes the earth into a brick after one good rain. So instead, they layer, equal thirds. 1/3 aged horse manure, 1/3 finished compost, 1/3 native topsoil, stacked like a cake. No mixing. Then they walk away. For 4 months, that bed just sits there. Snow falls on it. Rain soaks it. Earthworms move up and down through the layers. Microbes wake up and go to sleep. Fungal hyphae crawl through every inch. By the time you're ready to plant in March, the whole thing is one biologically alive substrate. Soft, comely, holds water like a sponge. That's the foundation. Without it, nothing else in this method works. Now, here's where it gets weird. When the Amish plant their peas, they don't dig a trench. They mark a band, 2 inches wide. They press seeds into that band, 2 inches apart in every direction, up, down, side to side. A grid, a carpet of seeds. In an 8-foot stretch, that's somewhere north of 250 seeds. I know what you're thinking. I thought it too. That's insane. They'll choke each other out. They'll never breathe. The roots will tangle. The whole thing will fail. But before they push those seeds into the dirt, they do 2 things almost every backyard gardener skips. First, they soak the seeds. 6 to 12 hours in lukewarm water. Softens the coat, breaks dormancy, gets every seed sprouting on the same day. No stragglers, no gaps. Second, they dust the wet seeds with a rhizobium inoculant. Peas are legumes, which means they can pull nitrogen straight out of the air and pack it into the soil, but only if the right bacteria live on their roots. The inoculant guarantees that partnership starts on day 1. Then they press each seed firm into the soil. They call it the hammer method. A gentle tap, no air pockets, perfect contact. And then they walk away again. Because the next part is what makes the whole thing possible. Density without structure is suicide. Plant peas this thick and don't lift them off the ground, they collapse in a tangled mat. The bottom rots. Mildew sweeps through. The whole bed dies before the first pod sets. So before a single seed goes in, the Amish build a wall, 5 to 6 feet tall, sometimes 7. Cattle panels, reinforced wire mesh, heavy jute twine strung between cedar posts driven deep enough to hold a man's weight. This trellis isn't decoration, it's the spine of the whole system. 2 things happen when you lift those plants up. The first one is obvious: sunlight. Every leaf gets exposed instead of buried. The vertical wall captures the same solar energy as a much bigger horizontal patch. The second one isn't obvious. It's the one that saves the crop: airflow. Powdery mildew is the silent killer of dense pea plantings. It grows in still, humid air. It loves stagnant canopies. The trellis breaks that up. Every breeze flows through the wall of vines. The leaves dry off. The fungus has nowhere to hide. That's why the dense planting works. Not because the plants don't compete, they do, but because the architecture above them gives every leaf room to breathe. Skip the trellis and the method falls apart. There's one more piece of the puzzle. Most people get it wrong before they even start: the seeds. Walk into any garden center in America today, and almost every pea variety on the rack is a dwarf, 2 feet tall, bushy, determinate. That word, determinate, means the plant produces all its pods in one short window, then dies. It was bred that way on purpose, so commercial farmers could harvest the whole field with one pass of a tractor. For a backyard wall of peas, that's the worst possible choice. The Amish don't grow dwarf peas. They grow an heirloom from 1881 called tall telephone. Some folks call it alderman. Same seed. This plant is a monster. 6 feet tall, sometimes 7. Indeterminate, which means it just keeps growing and producing pods all season long, layer after layer, as long as the conditions hold. Big, sweet pods, 8 to 10 peas in every one. Tall telephone has the climbing tendrils to scale a 6-foot trellis. It has the genetics to push through July. It has the vigor to outcompete any weed that tries to come up through the mulch. Dwarf peas can't do that. They were never built for it. Plant the wrong system and the whole system collapses. The trellis becomes a fence around a patch of bushes. Now we get to the part nobody talks about. The thing the Amish do at 8 o'clock at night, once a week, that doubles the harvest. Once the seedlings are about 3 inches tall, the bed gets a thick layer of clean straw mulch, 3 inches deep, right up against the stems. Blocks the weeds, holds the moisture, keeps the shallow roots cool when the sun beats down at noon. But mulch alone isn't enough. Once a week, after the sun goes down, usually around 8 in the evening, they walk out to the bed with a 5-gallon bucket of cold water. Ice cold. Sometimes pulled straight from a deep well, sometimes chilled in the spring house all afternoon. And they pour it, slowly, right along the base of the trellis, soaking the root zone. That's it. 1 bucket, 1 pour, once a week. They call it the evening tea. It sounds like nothing, a bucket of cold water at night. Folksy, quaint, easy to dismiss. But that single act is the difference between a pea bed that quits in June and a pea bed that's still pushing pods in late July, because of what's happening underground. Peas are cool weather plants. Their entire biology is built around temperatures between 40 and 85 degrees. Once the air goes above 85, especially once the nights stay above 75, the plant starts breaking down from the inside. The flowers go first. They abort. They drop off the vine before pollination can happen. No flower, no pod. That's called blossom drop, and it's the single biggest reason backyard pea beds fail in summer. But the damage doesn't stop above ground. Underground, the heat triggers a hormonal collapse. The plant produces a chemical called cytokinin that tells its cells to keep dividing and growing. When the soil heats up, cytokinin production drops. Cell division slows. Growth stops. At the same time, the lipid composition of the root membranes changes. The roots literally lose the ability to pull water and nutrients out of the soil as efficiently. Just when the plant needs the most water to survive the heat, its roots are losing the ability to drink. And it gets worse. The chlorophyll in the leaves degrades, photosynthesis weakens, the canopy temperature climbs. Studies have measured pod yield dropping somewhere between 11 and 17% for every couple of degrees Celsius rise in average daily temperature. That's not a small effect. That's a crop killer. The evening tea is the answer to all of it. When you saturate the root zone with cold water at night, you're using the soil as a thermal battery. Soil holds temperature for hours. By dropping the root zone temperature when the sun goes down, you give the plant a long, cool window to repair the damage from the day. Cytokinin production resumes. Membranes stabilize. The plant gets a chance to reset before sunrise. Why the evening and not the middle of the day? Because if you pour ice water on a stressed plant at noon, the leaves go into shock. The stomata slam shut. Photosynthesis stops. You make it worse. But at 8 at night, with the air cooling, the plant's metabolism slowing, the soil ready to absorb that thermal mass, it works. That single bucket can extend the harvest window by up to a full month. Now, let's be honest about the number. 40 pounds of peas in 2 square feet, it's not real. Run the math. The most aggressive intensive method packs 8 or 9 pea plants into a square foot. 2 square feet, 16 plants, give or take. To hit 40 pounds, every plant would have to push out 2.5 pounds of pods. A whole pea plant, by weight, doesn't even get close to that. The vine itself doesn't weigh that much. For comparison, a verified 100-foot row of field peas, planted from a 1/2 pound of seed, with hundreds of plants, produces about 40 pounds of peas in the hull. That's the real number. And it takes 100 linear feet of ground to do it. The viral claim is clickbait. The creators are conflating multiple beds, multiple plantings, or an entire season of succession harvests into one shocking title to grab the algorithm. So why am I bothering to teach you this method if the headline is a lie? Because the method is real. The science is real. The Amish wisdom underneath it is real. A 2-square-foot bed using this system won't give you 40 pounds, but it might give you 4 or 5. From a patch of dirt smaller than a doormat. No chemicals, no tilling, no expensive inputs. A harvest that runs a month longer than your neighbor's. That's not magic. That's just a better way of growing food. Here's what I want you to walk away with. Strip away the philosophy and the folklore, and here's what the Amish actually figured out. Plants aren't built to stand alone. Their roots want to be tangled. Their leaves want to overlap. The shade and the moisture and the fungal threads underground are how they survive a hot summer. We've been pulling them apart for 100 years and calling it progress. For those of us with small yards, hot summers, tight budgets, and no patience for industrial agriculture, that's the whole gift. You don't need more land. You need to plant tighter, build vertical, feed the soil instead of the plant, and protect the roots from heat. Peas are just the proof of concept. The same approach works for pole beans, cucumbers, and just about anything else that wants to climb. Try it this fall. Build the lasagna bed in October. Pick your trellis spot. Order tall telephone seeds from a reputable heirloom supplier, not from a sketchy social media ad selling secret Amish strains for $30 a packet. Those are scams. The seeds you need are cheap and easy to find under their real name. In March, when the soil unfreezes, plant your band. Soak the seeds, inoculate them, press them in. Mulch when they hit 3 inches. When July comes, when the heat starts to creep in, go out at 8 at night with a bucket of cold water. Pour it slow. Walk back inside. That's it. No magic seed, no secret formula. A bed built in October, a wall of trellis, a pack of tall telephone seeds, and 1 cold bucket on a Tuesday night in July. If this changed how you think about your garden, hit that subscribe button. I'm working through the rest of these old methods one at a time, and there are a few coming up that'll surprise you more than this one did. Now go build the bed.